Oh, Jimmy, this is your new guitar.
Yeah, we're going to cut a nut for this thing today.
Oh, it's beautiful. Give me a 360. Spin it around. Let me see what's on there. Golly, Jimmy. Oh, what a beauty. It's exquisite. What kind of wood is this?
We have curly core on the back of the headstock. And then we have the ebony headstock with the legacy name. This is a legacy. This is the second to the top of the line of the Foster guitars. And it's got the same fingerboard as the Royale. Each block has about 13 pieces to it.
Wow.
Each fret marker.
And what are the woods that it's made out of?
This is Engelmann spruce. And I find the Engelmann spruce is just really a great tone wood. And of course we got the curly maple back and sides with the tortoiseshell bonding. And it's very delicate, a lot of it. If you look how tiny even the tortoiseshell is around the edges, it's you know, to get it to where it's real delicate. You want it to look delicate. That's what adds the beauty.
It is a beauty. Well, what you going to do today, Jimmy?
I'm going to cut a nut for this thing.
Let's do it. Okay, how do you do this?
Okay, we're going to start off with a bone blank. I'm going to make sure it seats in the pocket perfectly. Now right now it's balancing on the truss rod. So what I'm going to have to first do is make sure I have it sticking out enough. And I'm going to make a little mark on a nut. We're going to cut a little indentation right here to where the truss rod doesn't interfere with it. Okay, we're going to tap it over to where it fits perfectly over the truss rod. Like that. This is a handy little trick. You take a carpenter's pencil and you sand it flat. Now I'll take and I'll grind the top, but I know that the point is going to be flat even with the frets, because this is the object. We're going to take this like this and slide this on top of the frets. Now we know exactly. We can't cut the nut quite that deep, because if we'll cut it that deep, then we'll have the problem of you know, not cutting the strings too deep. So we'll take and we'll mark this off, and then we'll go cut it. Okay, I actually walk around the back side of the bandsaw because I want to cut this line and I can't see it from the front side. So I'm going to actually take and pull it right over here like that. Cut it absolutely perfect, because we're going to actually sand it the rest of it. Now I'm going to try to do this without grinding my fingernails off, but what we want to do is we want to cut this on an angle to where you do not have too much of the nut dragging the surface of the string. We'll show you how we do this. Now that we have the nut cut and fit to where it fits real good on the edges, now what we want to do is make sure that the top of this nut, we don't want the strings to go way down deep into it. So we're going to take a blade. We know that this is straight. I had dulled the edge just a little bit. But now you take and you sit that on top of the nut, and you can see how far it drops off. That's about right on the bass side, but on the treble side, it's going to cut the string groove is going to be too deep, and then the string will have more friction because the more nut that it's dragging on, the more it wants to make the string stick in the nut. Okay, this is how we want it to fit. We want it to fit right nice to where we have the little circle over the truss rod, and it feels real good on the ends. But now we've got to round off the little tips because that's sharp. You wouldn't want to be playing that and feel this.
Okay, what's this thing, Jimmy?
Okay, this is nothing but a block of wood with a piece of sandpaper glued over it. I use this a lot of times, just not to, when you're doing this, you don't want to use the machine because all you have to do is hit it one time and learn what you've done already. So we're just going to take and we're going to kind of round this over on the end and make it to where it's not real sharp. We want those ends to be nice and smooth, the way that when you feel that, you won't feel it. The old-fashioned way of doing this would be we get the distance that we wanted, and then we'd take some dividers and we could take and walk it off and put them off exactly where, and get every string to where they're exactly the same space. But we're going to do it better than that because we've made an apparatus to where we can take and we can put the nut in a device that I've made and get it exactly centered and hold it in place. Now sometimes what I'll do, now this is going to be the bass side. The bass string is a little bit fatter, so I'm going to take and give it a hair more room. So I'll clamp that and put that in place. And now, these little slots are the same thickness as the saw. So I know when I do this, it's going to be perfectly in the middle. All I want to do is get a little mark to hold it exactly, put it in the right place. Now that was a whole lot easier than doing it the old-fashioned. Now we're going to start cutting the nut down. Now on this guitar it's going to be 13 gauge string, so we don't want to use a 13, we're actually going to use a 16. We want to use something a little bit bigger. We don't want the nut to actually jam. So we're going to take and we're going to start cutting it. And the way you know how to cut it the right depth, you want it almost to be to where it's touching that fret. We're going to do the final. We're not going to actually do the very final cut because we're going to leave just a little bit to make sure when we put strings on it and tune it up. But that's getting close right there. And of course we just repeat this and we'll go down the line. We knew exactly the size of the strings, so we're going to make sure that we take the right file and we're going to go to different sizes. This is a 26, so we're going to cut the next one. Actually, I have to find a file, but anyway, we're going to cut the next one is going to be like a 17 gauge, so we're going to cut it to about a 23. Okay, we just swapped guitars just to show you what a guitar with strings on it. But this is the way you check to make sure that the nut is cut properly. You hold the string down just like we were doing with this little, with the little blade. But we're going to hold the string. We know that string is straight. And theoretically, all of these frets are perfectly even. So you want the nut to actually be cut to where it's just almost just touching, as close as you can get to touching the fret. And you do that on every string, and that's your final adjustment. And when you do that, then it gets all played the way it's really supposed to